Umlein and Abla Gemara, we are up to Daf Gimel Amud Aleph Masechta Tainus, right in the middle of the Amud by the two dots. Rabbi Yehuda Ayman Mishum Rabbi Yeshua. In the Brisa, we brought a number of opinions as to when you start mentioning Geshamim. In the first part of Shemini Esrei, we say Mashiach Baruch Hamayil Geshem. So we had a few opinions. Beleza says from when you take the lulav, so there we saw clearly that it's associated with the lulav, and so that's from the first day of Sukkot and onward. Rabbi Yeshua said from when you put the lulav down, which is the seventh day, and what do we call it? Then we had just one second. Okay. Okay. Then we had Rabbi Yehuda ben Pseida, who said from the second day. We had Rabbi Yehuda ben Pseida said from the second day, and Rabbi Kivu said from the sixth day. And then we had Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rabbi Yeshua, who said that on Shmini Atzeres from Musaf. And we want to know who this Rabbi Yeshua is, because we had Rabbi Yeshua in our Mishnah that said from the eighth day. We had Rabbi Yeshua in the Mishnah that perhaps says it from the seventh day, the way Rashi learns. So who is this Rabbi Yeshua over here that says from Musaf of the eighth day, not from Shachas the eighth day? Says the Gemara, with the two dots. Rabbi Yehuda says, Mishum Rabbi Yeshua ha'oiver lifnei ha'teva. Whoever goes to the Amud, the Yom Tov ha'achron shel Chag. The word Teva has many different definitions. Here, Teva means to go daven for the Amud. Many times, Teva means the Aron Kodesh. Other times, we'll see Megillah means actually the Bima, where they place the Sefer Torah. I guess they're all referred to as Teva. So, Rabbi Yehuda said, name Rabbi Yeshua. If somebody goes to the Amud, the Yom Tov ha'achron shel Chag on Shmini Atzeres, ha'achron, maskir, only the Baal Musaf, the second person, he mentions Mashiach, Harishan, at least the Chazan, and we already mentioned Machlekes when the Tzibur, they begin, so you start Musaf as well, or by Mincha, and Harishan, but the one who daven Shachris, ain't a maskir, doesn't mention it. But Yom Tov Harishon Pesach, when it comes to the Pesach, Harishan maskir, the Shachris still mentions Mashiach, but ha'achron, Musaf, they change back to Moed Tov. So, Hai Rabbi Yeshua. Which Rabbi Yeshua is this? Maybe we have a Rabbi Yeshua in our Mishnah and Rabbi Yeshua in our Brisa. Ilay Rabbi Yeshua, the Mas Nisi Rabbi Yeshua Mishnah, Omar, he says, B'Yom Tov Achar Shel Chag Hu Maskir. He says, the Yom Tov, he says in our Mishnah, when do you begin starting? From the Shmini Atzeres. From Shmini Atzeres can sound like, well, there's a whole Shakvatayu, Shakazariya, either the night of Shmini Atzeres or Shachris of Shmini Atzeres, but definitely not from Musaf. So it can't be Rabbi Yeshua of our Mishnah. Ella must be Rabbi Yeshua Brisa. Ha'amar, he says, Mishas hanochosle, from when you put the lulav down. And the way Rashi says here clearly, we discussed this yesterday, he says on the seventh day, not the eighth day. And the others who understand it means also, if you put the lulav down the seventh day, means the following day, but at least definitely Ma'ariv of Shmini Atzeres, not Musaf of Shmini Atzeres. So who is this Rabbi Yeshua here? Says the Gemara, furthermore, Hadatanya be let the Brisa. Rabbi Yehuda says, Mishum ben Pseira, in the name of Ben Pseira, the name of another person. Ha'oiver lifnei ha'teva b'yom tov ha'achar shel Chag ha'achron maskir. Says the same thing, but the name of another person, Ben Pseira. Baal Musaf is the one who mentions. Hai ben Pseira. Which Ben Pseira is this? Ilay Rabbi Yehuda. Remember, we learned there were a few Bnei Pseira. Like Hillel, we had more Psachim there, that they were the leaders in charge, and then they didn't know if Yom Tov Pesach falls on a Shabbos, what you do. If Yom Tov Pesach falls on Motzei Shabbos, you do a Shabbos, and they brought Hillel down. So, which Ben Pseira is this? If this is Rabbi Yehuda ben Pseira, Ha'amar, didn't he clearly just say in the Brisa, B'Sheni B'Chag Maskir? He says it relates to Nisach HaMayim, when they did the water libations, and that started from the second day of Sukkot. So which Ben Pseira is this? One of the Bnei Pseira was also Rabbi Yeshua ben Pseira. And so we're going to answer that Rabbi Yeshua here and the other Brisa I mentioned Ben Pseira are both one and the same person. It's Rabbi Yeshua ben Pseira. And this is another opinion altogether, which is what we do today from Musaf of Shmini Atzeres. Amr Rab Nachman Yitzchak Tehei Rabbi Yeshua ben Pseira. Actually, learn we're talking about Rabbi Yeshua Bem Seder. Zimnin the Korele B'Shmei. Sometimes he goes by his own name, Rabbi Yeshua, and the Zimnin the Korele B'Shmei Abba. Sometimes they call him by the name of Abba, of his father, Bem Seder. Here's talking about before he had smicha, he goes by his father's name, and after he had smicha, he goes by his own name. A little bit puzzling because in the Gemara there in Psachim, it says that the Bnei Pseira were in charge and they were the Nasim, and yet they were called Bnei Pseira, and definitely they had smicha, otherwise they wouldn't have been the Nasi. Not sure. Anyway, the Gemara continues. Tana, we learned in the Braisa. Betal, when it comes to mentioning do, which appears every single day, relentlessly, consistently, uberuchas, when it comes to discuss the winds, which are essentials, there's no point in mentioning it because these things happen all the time. If you want to mention it, you can. You can mention the do, you can mention the winds. My time or why? Why do you feel we have to talk about the rain? Why don't we talk about the dew as well, which is also is important, and so the winds. So it says, they never stop. The rain, you can have a drought, but dew falls every single day. And so too, there are always winds. And that's why there's no point in mentioning it. I guess now with the wind farms in Europe recently, it was still for a couple of weeks and they had no power. Maybe they have to daven for winds. Says the Gemara, Vital Minolan the So who told you that the dew never ceases? Maybe we should daven mention it because who says it never ceases? The Chsib. I'll prove it to you from a pasuk. As you know, Eliyahu swore Achav and he made the drought happen. By Yemir Eliyahu Atish b'Meteish Gil Achav Chai Hashem El Keisel. I swear in the Abish's name, Hashem Manati Lefanav. Im the coming years there will be any talamot or dew and rain. So he basically cursed them that there will be a drought, but he also mentioned that there will no longer be any dew. Kim lefidvorai, only if I say so. Uksiv, and it says, it's here we see that Eliyahu did have the key for rain, but we already said before, like Rashi says, when we say that the three Mavtechas are only in the hands of the Eibishter, we're talking about three of them at the same time. Here, Eliyahu only had the key at the time of the drought. When he was Mechayim Esim, was another occasion altogether. And then it says in Pasuk, Hashem came over to Eliyahu and said in the third year, he said to him, Lech, Heidol Achav, go and show to Achav, appear before Achav, the Etnan, I'll make it rain again. Doesn't mention about the dew. Why? My time, but why doesn't it say I'll make the dew come down again? Because it never stopped. Because it never stopped. So the obvious question is, Eliyahu made a shvua. Why would he make a shvua for no? That's mama's a shvua shab. In fact, a wrong shvua, because he said it will stop the dew and it didn't. Says since the dew can never stop, Eliyahu is tabul. Why did he swear? The question really asks a lot more than why did he swear? How can he swear? Because he made he made a shvua, something which is impossible. This is what he meant. Afilu tal de bracha namilos. There's two kinds of dews. There's the dew which is essential every single day, and then there's the dew of blessing, which is a bit extra. And that he stopped. No, so how come David didn't say, I will bring back the rain, I'll bring back the dew of bracha? The reason is because it's hard to distinguish between the dew that's essential and the dew which is the extra, which is the bracha. Because the tal de bracha, the dew that comes every morning doesn't really have the capacity to make things grow. But the tal of bracha does have the capacity to make things grow. But the reason why he didn't say, and I'll bring back the dew, because Achav Harosh and all these other Rishaim wouldn't be able to distinguish between the two dews, and they'll say, the whole thing was nothing to do with Eliyahu, nothing of the Bab Maisa. But rain is something that was visible, everybody can see. They saw the powers of the Eibishter, the powers of Eliyahu Navi. He made a stop and start. So therefore, he didn't talk about the dew at all. Because otherwise, they would say, the whole thing is just nature. And look, the dew was here every day, even though he said it won't happen. And now he's telling us he brought it back. He didn't bring it back; it was here every day anyway. And people cannot tell the difference between the two kinds of dew. Okay, so to go further. Ruchas Menolalas. Okay, you also mentioned wind. There's no reason to mention wind because it never stops. How do we know that? It says in Pasuk that by Zechariah it says that just like the four ruchos of the heaven. We'll soon see what ruchos means. Pirashti eschem Hashem, I spread you out, says the Eibishter. Now, what does that mean? My kambaluhu. What exactly is the Nava saying? If you're going to say the Eibishter saying, I'm going to make you reside in the four corners of the world. So what do you mean, like the four corners? Like the four corners, they should have said, I am going to spread you around to the four corners. They should have said, I'm going to spread you around to the four corners of the world. This is what the Eibishter meant to say in a positive way. Ruchas here doesn't mean corners. Ruchas means winds. Just like the world cannot exist without winds, because otherwise the heat will just sit there, and it becomes unbearable. Because you have a wind, it constantly moves, it makes it a bit more bearable. Just like the world cannot exist without winds, the world cannot exist without the Yidden. So we see from here that winds is something which are essential, so there's no point in being masked. It's going to happen constantly anyway. So we said dew and winds are essentials, and you don't have to mention them. So therefore, in the summer, if in the summer you mentioned let the winds blow, there's no, you don't have to repeat it. There's nothing wrong. You didn't have to say it, but if you said it, nothing wrong. He said, in the summer, if you ask for rain, which is the wrong time, it's like a curse that we had before. I'll make it rain and it will actually ruin the crops. So no. But the other way around, if during the rain season, you did not mention Masha V'ruach, you don't mention Masha the wind, you didn't mention the rain, because we need rain in the winter during the rain season, and it's not happening. So we need it, you have to daven. Furthermore, not only if you don't mention wind and dew, makes absolutely no difference. You do mention, don't mention. Even if you say the opposite, I want the Eibishter to do me a favor, stop the wind blowing. Make the dew blow away. We won't have to make a repeat because the prayer is for naught. It won't have any effect whatsoever. So in the Rishonim, there's a big machlekes here. So first of all, we do say, by the way, the wind. We say in Shaila at least, Mashiv Ruach. We say by the Skara, Mashiv in the wintertime, Mashiv Ruach. We do mention the wind. Why do we mention the wind at all? We just said there's no point in mentioning the wind. We mention the wind because, as we'll see later, there's also good winds or better winds. And when we're saying Mashiv Ruach, we're asking for the better winds. So and Meir Hatol. So there's a big machlekes Rishonim. Some of the Rishonim say in the summer you don't have to say anything. And the Gemara just saying, if you said Moed Hatal in the summer, it doesn't matter. But other Rishonim say, like the Ritva and many others, that you should say Moed Hatal as well, because what we're asking for is the tal of bracha, which we learned before, that could stop. So we're asking for the tal of bracha. And according to many Rishonim, if you said Moed Hatal in the winter, that's good enough, but you don't have to repeat anything because you're asking for the tal of bracha, so you're asking for something to make the fruits and the crops grow. The Gemara continues. Tana, we learned, but of the uveruchis, it comes to the clouds, not just the winds, the clouds and the winds. You don't have to mention, but the im bola haskin maskin. If you want to mention, you can. My timer, why? Because the winds never stop and the clouds never stop. So right now the Gemara is learning also the clouds never stop. Says the Gemara. The clouds never stop. But it says in the pasuk, we say Krishma, the Otzer as a Shemayim. Yeah, so we say over there that you'll hold back the Shemayim, Mina Abim from the clouds, and from the winds. And how do we know that? It says the Otzer as a Shemayim Villa Yemot. When you say over there that you will hold back the Shemayim and you will stop the rain, so what's holding back Shemayim? If you're not referring to the rain, because that's the next words, right? Below Yemota, then what's also Shemayim? Must be that what clouds won't form. So we see from here, you're saying that saying, I'm going to stop the clouds from appearing and the wind from the rain. And there won't be any rain. We're talking about rain already. What do you mean holding back the heaven? From the clouds and from the winds. Kasha ruchas aruchas. Kasha there's a question between the winds. There's a question between the clouds. Before we say that the winds never get are always there. Here it says clearly, it stops and say the clouds. So Avma Lakasha. It's not a problem, clouds and clouds. Why not? Ha becharfi, ha be'afli. The way Rashi learns that is the clouds that there before prior to the rain, that always happens. Doesn't mean it will rain afterwards, but those kind of clouds always appear. And Haba Afli, the clouds that come after the rain, which actually could support the rain, because the clouds after the rain let the water sit there and soak in the ground and soak into the seed and so on and so forth. That's the one the Abishah said, I'm going to stop the clouds after the rain. Ruchas aruchas lekasher. So the same thing wins. So notice two kinds of clouds. Some are essential and will never stop, just clouds in the sky before rain, and some are a blessing and they're not going to happen. Same thing with winds, like kasha. What do you mean the two kinds of winds? The normal wind that always happens, even, and the Dave shall never stop that. And the stronger winds, which also are beneficial. We're not talking about hurricanes like that, but are beneficial, and those are winds of a blessing. And winds of a blessing, I can prevent that from happening. Ruach she'ena mitzuya, said the Gemara. Why do you think it's a blessing? Stronger winds are also essential. If you want to do a winnowing, you need, you throw it up in the air, the chaff breaks off, so you need that wind. No, the reason why it's not called an essential is because there are alternate methods of doing it. Physically, you stand there and you break it off. So you don't necessarily need the wind. That's a wind of a blessing, and the will can exist without it. So the Abishah says, I'll prevent that from happening. Tony, we learn ha'avim, the clouds, v'aruch is the wind, actually shnias lamata, they support the rain. Hey chidami, what kind of case is that? Amar ula, the basa mitra, if the clouds or the wind after the rain actually help the rain. Says the Gemara, you're telling me that the clouds after the rain support the rain, and the wind after the rain supports the rain. Is that so? The member of the Malyusi, that that's actually some advantage, that if there's winds after the rain is a good thing. Let me ask you a question. It says, Yited Hashem es metar artzcha, the Eibishter should give, it says in the Teicha, that the Eibishter will give that after the rain there'll be dust and dirt and everything else, and the wind will blow that around, so that's terrible. So you get stuck to the fruits and it's terrible. So what do you tell me? It's a good thing to win. Talking about the wind after the rain. So it cooks up a storm and makes swirl over there all the dust and dirt and gets stuck to all the crops and everything else and ruins the crop. So you're telling me wind is good after the rain? On the contrary. Like kasha. Hadas, and if the wind comes calmly, then it's a good thing. But then it spreads the water everywhere. Hadas it has. If it's a strong wind, it not only spreads the water, but also spreads the dirt and gets stuck to the crop. And that's a bad thing. And the same idea is how the a wind that stirs up the dirt, that's terrible. A wind doesn't, is good. The wind that's after the rain is a wind that's after the rain is just as beneficial as the rain itself because it spreads the water everywhere. Even the clouds after the rain is committed also like rain, it lets the water sit there and let it soak into the ground. Right after the rain is the sun starts doing its work, then is advantageous like two downpours. So what isn't it good? You tell me wind, cloud, sun, what other possibility is there? So it's all good. Lemute gili delaila, if it lights up at night, like maybe lightning at night or other things that light up at night it's a waste. It doesn't do anything for the crop. And you lose the rain. Or or even during the day, but if the sun, plenty of clouds, and the sun breaks through the rays that break through the clouds. Those sun rays don't do anything, but also broke the clouds apart. So you don't have the advantage of the clouds, nor do you have the advantage of the sun. That's when it's no good. Amar Rabba says, Rabba, the snow is good for mountains, like 5 downpours in the ground. For a mountain, rain doesn't do much because it just water trickles right down. On the other hand, snow sits there for a long time. And furthermore, if snow in a valley, it could be advantage also, but snow in a valley eventually melts. And it doesn't stay snow for long. On a mountain, it can stay for a long time because it's much colder here. It stays there for much longer. Remember, it says in the pasuk. I don't know that's a good thing. It says kilashel yomer have because he say to the snow, be the land v'geshem mota v'geshem mitras uzay, and the rain. And it says 5 times. It says geshem, motor, geshem, and mitra. It says plural rains. 5. Uza is a strength. So we see that snow is equal to 5 rains. Vamar says tilga that snow for mountains is mitra is considered like rain. Or talga latura like rain. Mitra razililon. Rain is good for trees. And mitra nichel, and so too it's good for fruits. Ura pila, like a drizzle. Afilu the partzida de tusikolamanya, even for seeds underneath the ground, it helps. Even for seeds, as Taisa goes even further than Rashi says, even seeds that are underneath a rock, if it drizzles consistently, the water soaks the ground till eventually it seeps through to the seeds and makes it blossom. Mayur pila, what kind of word is pila? Uru pila, wake up your seeds. Rambam says Rabba, talking about seeds and other mates asada, a person is like a tree. Hide shubba rabbanon. This young rabbi, as Rashi says, older rabbanon are not called shubba rabbanon. They're called rabbanon, but a young one is called shubba rabbanon. Domile partzida is like these seeds underneath a rock that which way the kim and the novet. Once it begins to blossom, it continues to grow. There are tamachachim. Once his name gets out, his name continues to spread further and further and further. Word of mouth and so on. Omar Rabba says Rabba. If you see a young rabbi, the rotach that's angry and he's passionate in his arguments, you go to yeshiva sometimes, you see that Chavrus is learning, you can think they're about to kill each other. You should know the rice is coming out. It's the Torah that gets them all excited. You know, it says, my words are like fire, says the Eibishter. Yet it only says that by Tzurban Rabbanon. As Rashi said, Tzurban Rabbanon means only young bachur. When you get older, even if you get passionate, you're a bit more calm, and the passion is a little bit gone. Rashi, Kol Talmid Chacham she'enu kosher kebarzel, any Talmid Chacham who is not tough like metal. That means he doesn't yield because there's pressure and so on. If he has principles in learning in halacha, ain't a Talmid Chacham. If he buckles under the pressure, not much of a Talmid Chacham. Shenemar, as it says in Pasuk, ukepatish yepoitzetzel, like a hammer that breaks a stone. That's what the Torah is like. So that the people who learn the Rabbanim should be like metal, that they should be tough like metal. And Rashi adds the word kapdonim, that they should be very particular and not yielding on principles that they believe in is based on halacha. Master, you learn from there. Anan mahach, I learn from here. See, it says Eretz. It's a land that just bring that to it's a land asher avoneh barzal, that its stones are like metal. What do you mean a land that its stones are like metal? Al tikra avoneh. Don't read as if it says stones, but rather read it ella boineh. It's builders, as we say in davening every day. So the builders, the tamid chamim, and they are like metal, tough. Ravina says, nevertheless, even though tough means not only unyielding, but Rashi also add you shouldn't be a pushover, and you should be prepared to fight back. You should be a captain. Even so, you should always teach yourself to be calm. It says, nevertheless, you should remove the anger from your heart, even though it's for a good cause. You don't have to do it in a manner of anger. Okay, we could stop here and we'll continue tomorrow in Mitzvah Hashem.